Coming from a history background, I have no problems trawling through old books and handouts aplenty, and am actively excited, with no trace of irony, poring over a big heavy atlas. Love this thing. But there are other ways of learning, and a great form in the modern world is film. Now, film has been around for a long time, and has been a tool available to schools for decades to help educate students. For example,
be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover. This is an official civil defense film produced in cooperation with the Federal Civil Defense Administration and in consultation with the Safety Commission of the National Education Association.
But fortunately, it has evolved dramatically since the 50s. The biggest contributing factor was probably the creation of YouTube, and of the creation of higher internet speeds. Dial-up pretty much excluded me from the internet for a long time. Now, YouTube is great in that it's free, accessible to everybody as both the viewer and creator, and allows for multiple different styles of learning at the same time, be they visual, reading, auditory, whatever. It also allows for the enhancement of older teaching methods like lectures, granting people around the world access to presentations that they would otherwise not be able to attend. Perhaps the best example of this is TED Talks.
Homo sapiens is probably about 200,000 years old. Language goes back at least 50,000 years, probably more. According to one estimate, if humanity had existed for 24 hours, then as far as writing goes, as opposed to speaking, writing only came along at around 11:07 p.m.
Now, TED Talks began in the 1980s, considerably earlier than YouTube, but its popularity increased exponentially since they became freely available online. And they're not the only things available online for the purpose of educating the masses. Everybody should be familiar with this guy.
It lives unobtrusively and often ignored in British rivers. And it sheds light on the challenges those first vertebrates faced. Ah, there it is. This is a lamprey.
Now, David Attenborough's documentaries are typically produced by the BBC and created for television. But for people like me, who's owned a TV for years and still haven't plugged in the aerial cable, I still have access to the documentaries now, thanks to the miracles of online media. However, people haven't just adapted to the internet by posting traditional content online, like those documentaries. Many people have created entirely new presentations purely for the internet. Despite my love of books, I thoroughly enjoy learning history through this great channel.
My name is Indy Nidell, and this channel, The Great War, is going to cover the First World War week by week as it unfolded 100 years later, from today until November 2018, so you can really get a sense of just what happened as it happened. The active weeks, the passive weeks, the weeks of carnage, and the weeks of hope, we'll follow them all one by one.
On that channel, Indy and his team go through the Great War week by week as it happened 100 years ago, using speech, maps, photos, old footage, animations. However, as a further nod to the benefits of modern technology, they also accept questions posted by the viewers and try to explain the answers, creating an interactive forum that just wasn't possible on a global scale until the rise of online videos. Now, for a technophobe such as myself, who in primary school literally learned in the early years to write with a blackboard on my lap, I obviously didn't know how to use things like YouTube. Before creating this video, I had nothing. None. However, I was able to learn using, you guessed it, YouTube. However, online videos for the purpose of learning aren't without their dangers. We've all experienced those moments when you duck onto Wikipedia for a couple of minutes to clarify what genus the tomato's in, and then emerge hours later knowing everything there is to know about the creation of the Great Pyramids of Giza. The internet is the ultimate tool for procrastination, and its limitless nature means it's kind of a minefield for distractions. While teaching a class a few weeks ago, I saw some boys, rather than researching the assignment I'd given them, were instead engrossed in... So, as is the case with most educative tools, online videos like YouTube are only as useful as you allow them to be. However, if used appropriately as a support and not a replacement for other learning methods, they have an invaluable contribution to play in the modern education. Didn't do your homework? Don't worry, it was recorded.